rise for the Okay, good evening, everyone. We're going to start off a little different today. We've got a presentation for Michael. First, we're going to start with a presentation for Mr. Michael Fix, who has served our community for over 40 years on our Civil Service Commission.
Thank you. Do you mind if I say a few words? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming in tonight. If I could ask Mr. Michael Fix to come up, please, and stand next to me and be embarrassed. Just wanted to take this opportunity, one, to introduce to you all, if you're not aware, this is Mr. Michael Fix. Mr. Fix has been a fixture in this township for almost 4 decades. And he's served in various roles and responsibilities in those many years. But in the 10 years that I've been here, I've gotten to know Mr. Fix as a member of the Civil Service Board here in Cumru Township. So Mr. Fix has not only been on the board for the Civil Service Commission, but he resided as the president of the Civil Service Commission since I've been here. The Civil Service Commission, among other boards, they all serve a valuable purpose, but the Civil Service Commission serves a valuable purpose specifically for first responders, so the fire department as well as the police department here in Cumru Township. Everything when it comes to hiring, promoting, as you'll see later tonight, goes through the Civil Service Commission to ensure that everything's done properly, all the rules are followed, and that I don't go rogue and go off the tracks. So Mr. Fix keeps me in line. But I will say that when I first got to Cumru Township, there was an incident that occurred on Mr. Fix's property that brought us there. And it was a major incident. Among other incidents that have occurred on that stretch of road, which is a dangerous stretch of road because of speeding and wildlife and nature. I've come to talk with Mr. Fix a lot, and I appreciate every conversation we've had. And every now and then we come across individuals that, you have that internal voice that just says, you keep your mouth shut and just listen to what he has to say, or listen to what they have to say, because they're passing on knowledge to you. And that's one of the things that struck me as so unique and important about Mr. Fix, was just the incredible amount of information that he was able to provide me, and background that he was able to provide me, and even just stories that he had that were not related to policing or the Civil Service Commission, that were just incredibly fascinating. So much so that my sergeants and my field training officers make it a point with new officers to take them out to visit Mr. Fix and talk with him and get introduced to him. And it's just, he's a fixture in this township. And I know there's many others like him in this township, but I've personally have gotten the opportunity, and I'm thankful for that opportunity, to really get to know Mr. Fix and kind of absorb anything that he wants to throw at me. So I knew the day would come when he would say, I'm stepping away, and that day did come. But he's going to be incredibly missed for everything that he has brought to this township. And I know the board and previous boards are so thankful for not only individuals like Mr. Fix, but for Mr. Fix himself, for being able to dedicate so many years to this township. And it's behind the scenes. He's not in the paper. He's not at meetings and in the front lines. He's just handling business behind the scenes, and I really appreciate that. So just as a small token of the board and myself's appreciation, and I know Chief Bean echoes everything that I'm saying. We just wanted to present you with this small token, this plaque that hopefully you'll be able to look at and think of us. And I'm thankful in knowing that you're not going to be a stranger and you'll be able to come visit us and vice versa. Mr. Fix has invited me and his lovely wife have invited me to their house so many times, and I've been there a number of times for business, but never really for pleasure. But I promise you that will change, and I'm going to take that opportunity and visit you and spend some more time with you. And like I said, just keep my mouth shut and listen to what you have to say. But thank you so much. I appreciate everything you've done. Thank you very much.
Madison, thank you so much for the kind words. And I will say this, and we've had just the best relationship over the years, mutually satisfying, really. I need to tell you that this is a two-edged sword for me, too. When a number of years ago, when we closed our business, and my wife is here, and she worked with me throughout those 45 years, but we thought as the years were piling on, it was about time that we unload some responsibility. And I said to her, this is going to be a very difficult two-edged sword for me. I enjoyed the work I did. I had a terrific clientele. But sometime it comes to that point where you have to make a decision. One of the things that I find so ingratiating today about that, even though it's many years now since we've been retired, as we're out shopping or whatever, we're constantly running into our customers who become friends over the years. And they'll always come over and slap me on the back and acknowledge Mary's presence there and saying, boy, we miss so much that you're not back there in the shop anymore. We always enjoyed that, and you gave us great service. And you know, today I find that's as valuable to me as the paycheck was. The type of relationships that you build, and you don't even realize it at the time. But Madison, this also is one of those things that I am so ingratiated by receiving this. And if I can squeeze this into just a few minutes, maybe I'd like to just synopsize how we got here, my family. In 1892, my grandfather, Frank Helmke, he was my mother's father, came over here from Magdeburg, Germany, came through Ellis Island. And initially, he and his family, he was just a young fellow then, they settled on Cedar Hill, which is a mountain behind Birdsboro. And they had a very rudimentary property that they purchased. It had a very primitive dwelling on it. One wall was a rock and 3 walls were logs, and they subsistence farmed there for a number of years. And then, and I will say this, the Helmkes were very hardworking, conscientious people, but they were also a bit adventurous too, some more so than the others. And my great-grandfather, his name was Franz, keeping in mind they got here in 1892, and they worked up there on their farm until 1898, when the Klondike Gold Rush erupted in Alaska and the Yukon Territory. And he felt, Franz did, that this would be an opportunity that maybe he could get ahead there financially and give his family a better start. So he took off, across the country. He took off for San Francisco. Now you got to keep in mind, in 1898, crossing this country was like going to the moon. We don't even know how he got to San Francisco, but he did. He got there, and he got on this little tramp steamer to go up the Inside Passage to Skagway, Alaska. That's kind of like the jumping off point where most of the prospectors would start out. My mother used to tell me she knew him. I, of course, never knew my great-grandfather. And she said he was a pretty friendly, outgoing guy, made friends easily. And on this tramp steamer, he used to talk to her a lot about a friend that he made there, who happened to have been Jack London. Now, of course, Jack London was going up there for a little different reason. He was going up there to gather material for his book. But at any rate, my great-grandfather, I'm not sure exactly what happened after he got there and if he got back into the Klondike. Many people ask me when I'm telling this story, well, how did he make out that he strike it rich? No, he didn't. But he made out better than a lot of people because he made it home alive. So anyway, he then resided in California for a while, and some of the rest of the Helmke family went out there, including my grandfather. Now, my grandfather he became a journeyman machinist, and he went out there to join his family, but worked as a machinist. And he lived along with my mother and my grandmother out along the Mojave Desert. He had a job out there with a machine company, and we're talking about late 20s, early 30s, and we were getting into Depression years. And my grandfather always had work, but as this depression seemed to deepen and he was worried about how long this is going to last, he was also concerned about where he lived there out along the edge of the Mojave Desert, that if things didn't go well, he couldn't survive off the land too well there because the climate and soil conditions wouldn't have allowed that. But he remembered where he came from back here in Pennsylvania. So in 1934, he decided to come back here and look for a property. And he found and purchased the 45-acre property that we're on today. And we're so happy he did. And now we have 5 generations of our family that have grown up on that property. And my wife, certainly, my daughter Karen next to her, my grandchildren, they all live on another house and the property just down the road. And we are so grateful to be there. One of the things I would just like to kind of summarize here is that the fact that I could serve on the Civil Service Commission for all these years gave me an opportunity to give back something to Cumru Township, because we always enjoyed a safe, secure, and pleasant life there. And I felt that this was a good opportunity, again, to contribute something back to Cumru Township in thanks. So that's kind of a summary of how we got there. And I'll summarize it by one last thing, keeping in mind that we were there since 1934. It's only another 8 years, and we'll be celebrating a centennial anniversary, 100 years. So hopefully a lot of my friends here might be able to attend that too. So at any rate, that's kind of my summary of how we got here. And once again, Madison, thank you so much for your kind words and this presentation tonight. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Chief, and thank you, Mr. Fix. Moving along, we have some more good news tonight. I'll turn it back over to you, Chief.
Thank you. So have another great opportunity to be able to recognize and swear in two of our newest sergeants. Ironically, this is the last action of business that Mr. Fix took in the Civil Service Commission meeting, which was voting and approving the authorization for promotion for Sergeant Nathan Bentz and Rohan Gupta. And they're here today, and I'd like to swear them in individually. But before we do that, if I could first ask Krista Kring to come up. She's our systems analyst here in the police department. A lot of people believe that if you're the police chief, you're in charge. I'm clearly not. Miss Krista Kring is in charge, and she makes sure that she takes care of everything that needs to get done. But she's also going to be the one that's going to be swearing them in. So in no particular order other than seniority, at first I'd like to invite Sergeant Bentz up to get sworn in. Sergeant Bentz has been with us well, he was hired in 2019. So I had the opportunity to hire then Officer Bentz into the department. Sergeant Bentz is, if you don't know Berks County law enforcement, there's a few names that really echo in policing. And I was told early in my tenure as a police chief that you're really not a police department unless you have a Bentz on your department. And then there was like one other name, and we actually have that other name as well. So when I saw Nate's application come through and saw the last name, I had worked with some of his family members when I was with Reading Police Department, and we were anxious to get him on board. And I'm happy to say, obviously, it's worked out for us. He was a good hire. Sergeant Bentz is also in charge of our traffic unit. So traffic is probably one of the number one issues that individuals have in this township and in most townships. And Sergeant Bentz, once he was assigned that position, wasted no time in changing, making some changes, getting out and communicating with the public, providing a platform through email for complaints to come in that he could address. He never shied away from any issue or problem that anyone had. Sergeant Bentz is certified as a motor vehicle carrier inspector, if you will. I think that's proper title. But he's the one we call if we have a major incident, crash involving a large motor vehicle carrier truck, for example. It takes specialized training in being able to evaluate and test those kinds of vehicles. So I have the pleasure again now in swearing him in as a sergeant. He took over our 3-to-1 shift. It's not that big of a department. You think that would roll off my tongue, but unfortunately there's a lot going on. He took over our squad on our 3 p.m. till 1 a.m. shift, which we desperately needed. And he's doing a great job so far. Fantastic job. So at this point, I'd like to, if you want to have somebody come up, do we have the Bible? Do we not have a Bible? Should be back there.
Oh, geez. Repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and that I will discharge the duties of sergeant in Cumru Township, Berks County, with fidelity.
Next, we have Sergeant Rohan Gupta, if you want to come up. Sergeant Gupta was hired in 2020. And again, I had the opportunity to hire him. I will tell a short story, and it's not long at all. But I think I told this the last time you were recognized with an award. But when Sergeant Gupta came in for his initial interviews and application drop-off, he struck me as somebody that was very unique. He came in and he had confidence, 100% confidence in himself. And I believe when we introduced each other to each other, it was almost like he mentally told me, "You're going to hire me and you're going to love me and I'm going to work out very well." He was just so impressive. Everything about him was just spot on. And it's a characteristic, it's a trait to be able to have that confidence in yourself and your ability and not have it look cocky, like you're cocky. And he never did. He always had that confidence and presented himself as such. And immediately upon exiting his probation, he was put forward as a name by the sergeants for a field training officer, which is arguably one of the more important positions in our department because they are training, our field training officers are training the young officers that are coming on the job that really have no background other than just the police academy and a lot of energy. And it's, I'm sure at times like herding kittens when it comes to trainees. I personally was not a good FTO. I can tell you that I was not patient enough. But Sergeant Gupta excelled in that. And the sergeants, it's such an impressive thing because the sergeants are the ones who present to me who they believe the field training officer should be. So his bosses essentially recommended him. And I think it was pretty much at a record time in his young career that he was advanced to field training officer. So it was no surprise to me that the first opportunity that he had to take the promotional sergeant test, that he was going to do well. And he absolutely did well. And not only just in the test, but he took that confidence in himself and his ability to do this job right into the oral boards and knocked it out of the park as well. So this is not a surprise to me that Sergeant Gupta is up here. The only reason why this didn't happen sooner is because per civil service rules and regs, you have to wait 5 years in order to qualify to become a sergeant. So again, as soon as he was able, he qualified, he took it, he passed, and he took over on our midnight shift. So he works overnights, which is a very difficult shift in that I'm not around, the lieutenants are not around, and you're really independent and you have to make decisions. You're not judged on those opinions until I come in the morning. And so you pretty much have to make the right decisions. But he's done a great job, a fantastic job. And I no longer have sleepless nights wondering what's going on midnight shift, because I know if Sergeant Gupta is working, everything will be fine and we'll get through it. He'll get through it and we'll survive to the next day. So if you would like to invite someone up to help you get sworn in, we'll have you sworn in.
Okay, repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Rohan Gupta,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support, obey, and the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and I will discharge the duties of sergeant
and I will discharge the duties of sergeant
in Cumru Township, Berks County,
in Cumru Township, Berks County,
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chief.
Thank you. If it's okay with the board, would you mind if I had an excuse for a little bit? Just, thank you.
Fun way to start the night. Congratulations and thank you to everyone. We're gonna now move on to our public comment period. I see there are a couple people who did sign up to speak. I don't believe we had anything online or anything. So we'll get right to the sign-in sheet. And first we have Ms. Bev Leonti, member of our Planning Commission.
Hello, thank you for giving me the dignity to speak. My words might get a little tongue-tied today because I've been having some issues with that. As a resident of the township, as well as the Planning Commission Vice Chair, I feel strongly that the approval to post the T&D overlay is premature. There have been several revisions, the latest of which was just issued Friday afternoon. This revised ordinance should follow the proper channels of review. Both the Cumru Planning Commission and the Berks County Planning Commission need to discuss and comment thoroughly. By asking the planning commissions to appear before this meeting and present their findings without proper discussion is disrespect for the appointed members as well as for the general public. There have been several new members on the Planning Commission within the past 2 months. You should allow them some dignity to get their feet wet and review it during the scheduled planning board meeting. By requesting the members to appear before the Board of Commissioners could be construed as an attempt to circumvent the holding of a meeting, which is in violation of the Sunshine Act. Andy, at the last board meeting, you stated that you would defer to the Planning Commission and let them do their jobs and that the process is working as intended, which was in the video around the 8-minute mark. Yet privately, you stated that bureaucracy will not stop the board's authority to act. I don't know which version is your true feelings. And Greg, you stated that there were no comments during the two previous planning commissions. That's a blatant lie. The January meeting, it was stated it was a very preliminary version, and in February, it was stated it was very difficult to read. The two versions of the T&D overlay were presented just last week alone, as well as a new map of the proposed area. I feel this is being pushed through without the proper procedures because there is land which could meet the criteria. This is reflected on the revised overlay map. Two things that must be included are recreational space. And if it would not be for senior housing, it needs to include an area for schools. It makes no sense to decrease municipal taxes if our school taxes will be increased because there is no room to build. I have several additional comments about the revised ordinance, but will hold off until after the Planning Commission meeting, as I do not wish to be bullied into presenting my thoughts without discussion from that board. I also do not wish to be part of any possible violation of the Sunshine Act. This is a deliberate attempt to avoid the processes that have been in place for several decades and should not be rushed.
Well, I just want to quick clarify a couple things. One, the first thing is that nothing has been approved. I think you misspoke. I understand, but I just wanted to clarify that nothing has been approved. The other thing,
The emails back and forth were showing that it seemed like it was going to be pushed through tonight. So we definitely, it's good that it's going to be held off until after the both planning.
thank you, Ms. Leonti. to clarify, I think there had been a request for the board to discuss advertising a proposed zoning overlay that we've discussed previously. This is the traditional neighborhood development overlay. We will be discussing that further along in the meeting. As I said in an email to all, I believe most of the planning commission, I'm happy to involve the members who are able to make it here tonight in that conversation. It's not, there's certainly no bullying. As I said in my previous communication, I would like to have a collaborative conversation with our planning commission.
Then what was the reason to call it a bureaucracy?
I'm not going to litigate specific lines of my email again, but since you brought it up, I did say that bureaucracy will not impair this board's authority to act. This board is elected by the people. We are not an appointed body. We are elected by the people to act on behalf of the people of this township, and we will do that. And for the record, the Planning Commission received multiple drafts. We have received substantial feedback from the engineer on the Planning Commission, and we have not heard much otherwise. There was a proposal that we consider advertising it for feedback from the public. That's all that has been proposed.
Okay.
So I think we just need to be careful about inflammatory rhetoric. I still want to have a collaborative conversation.
We definitely need to have the planning commission have a collaborative meeting, and inviting the planning commission members to come here and speak to the board of commissioners before. I am definitely not comfortable with that. And I know some of the planning commission members are here. I hope they, if they speak as residents and not as members of the planning commission. But yeah, I mean, we will definitely review this at our April meeting. And I'm glad that it's not going to be posted for final review until after it goes through the proper procedures.
Well, I think the board will decide that. Whether it's not my decision.
Yeah, well,
it is the board's decision.
right.
And we will discuss the proposed overlay, and the board will decide in its authority what it thinks needs to be done. And you're welcome to contribute to that conversation. And we will have a further conversation about it, I think, further down in the agenda.
But the question is, the public speaks before conversations. So do you want conversations, the general audience to talk during when that's coming through? At what point is it that the public speaks and then it turns into a conversation and
this is our public comment period. Anybody from the public is welcome and encouraged to speak. Further in the agenda, we have a specific agenda item to discuss the TND, or traditional neighborhood development overlay, where I would invite members of our planning commission to contribute to the conversation as well if there are specific concerns. Like I also said in my previous communication, I am not interested in hearing, and this is my personal opinion, I don't speak for everyone up here, but I'm not interested in hearing it needs work. What about it needs work? If somebody thinks there's something wrong with it, we want to know that. If something it needs to be changed, tell us what needs to be changed. We don't have time to hear it needs work.
I have about one page of
fantastic
changes so far, but I want to discuss that with the planning commission board, because it should definitely be an open dialogue between all of the members of the planning commission, and not just to present our findings to you at the BOC meeting. I think, especially with having new members on there, they need to be aware of how the process should work, and not just come and present it here.
Thank you. Like I said, we will continue the TND proposal conversation shortly. But for the sake of, thanks again. We're going to move on. I believe Mr. Keffer, you signed up.
Well, actually, I wanted to talk about planning and zoning also. Typically, planning and zoning is pretty straightforward, with uses for specific areas The changes that are proposed to the zoning ordinance throw a little bit of a wrinkle into this. And that brings into the building code, brings into play the building codes. Let me give you an example. Typically, you would have a plot of land, it's zoned, let's say residential or commercial, and you put that type of building on that particular parcel. But with the traditional neighborhood development type of zoning, we're looking at a mixed use type of zoning where you could have, let's say, a commercial use on the first floor of a building and residential on the second floor. Now, there's certain fire codes that have to be adhered to that relate to the building code. But the other thing that comes into play is fire protection. And that's a big issue. There's a number of different fire protection systems that the fire chief, I'm sure, can elaborate on and give you some specifics on. But the real issue here is at the area in particular that we're looking at along Lancaster Avenue. If we have a mixed use type of development, we need a fire protection system. Of course, the system depends on what's going in there, but, and I think I've talked about this before also, we really are handicapped by the fact that we only have a very small water line along Lancaster Avenue. And for a fire protection system to work properly, we have to have enough volume and pressure to work even at the simplest of fire protection systems. I see this as a major handicap to what we're trying to do, particularly in that area. I don't know if there's something that we can address with, I guess, Borough of Shillington. Do they own the water line that goes up through that way?
Richard, I just want to say I agree with you, but this Lancaster Pike is not contemplated as part of this.
Okay. I mean, the same thing applies to the other area that we're looking at down along Route 10. Fire protection is a big issue. I'm sure that the fire chief will tell you the same thing. But the building codes also come into play with a lot of this in terms of how the zoning is to be handled. So that's my comment.
Thank you. That was insightful. Appreciate it. Yeah, and again, I think we're going to continue this conversation very shortly. Last person to sign up for public comment, Ms. Shanika Young.
Good evening. My name is Shanique Young, and I'm a resident of Welsh Road. I'm here regarding the poultry facility currently under construction at 2939 Welsh Road. Residents have attempted to obtain clear information through public record and right to know request. However, there are still significant unanswered questions. Specifically, I am requesting clarification on the following. What is the official classification of this operation? General, agricultural, or intense agricultural? What animal unit calculation was used to determine this classification? Is intensive agricultural permitted in the zoning district where the property is located? What permits and approval were required and issued for this project? Has a manure management plan been reviewed and approved? Additionally, there are concerns regarding the extent of earth disturbance and whether it remains within permitted limits, as well as potential impacts to nearby water resources, including springs and high-quality cold water fishery waters. At this time, residents are being asked to accept that this project is compliant without access to clear documentation. I respectfully request that these questions be answered and on the record. Thank you. Yes, I think I only have 4 though, but yes.
Thank you, Ms. Young. I guess while we're here, does anybody have an immediate answer for any of the questions? If not, we can get back to you. And I assure you there's been a lot of communication about this, and the staff, to what extent we are able, are taking it seriously.
Just the digging and the moving of the dirt over the wetlands and the waterways, it's a little bit, it seems like in the beginning, he was kind of sticking to where he was supposed to be, but now it's like going further and wider. And we don't know, we were never given an answer as far as what types of hens and chickens this facility is housing, what they're doing. Nobody knows anything. We just know that they're coming. Nobody knows the amount. I know there was an amount on the initial permit, but that's definitely over general agriculture. So we're just kind of like, what's going on? You know, nobody knows. And spring is here and it's getting hotter. So we don't know, you know, with the manure plan and wonderful smells. So
yeah, we can look at the records and try to get you some answers to your questions, but just to be fair, there may not be the answers you're looking for, and there may not be specific answers about what type of chickens and things like that. Some of those things are not required for an applicant to present or produce in order to obtain permits.
okay, when he did do the permit, it was classified as a chicken coop, and it's way over a chicken coop.
We will look into it.
Okay.
Some of this has already been answered, I believe, but we will put your questions and try to get back to you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next agenda item. Thank you to the public for your comments. First, we have item A, planning fees. Consider authorization for a resolution to update the current fee schedule. I believe this might have been something you brought. Jesse, is that right?
Yeah, this was brought up to me by Barb, who's the president of the planning commission, and she, or the chair, she suggested that with respect to having a data center being a conditional use, that we might want to look at increasing some of the escrow fees for that specific reason, because of how intense that review will need to be by the engineers. So I drafted a resolution amending the fee resolution that was previously in place. Nothing changed in the amendment that I drafted, except for adding a conditional use application fee that is $1,500. So that would give the engineer enough escrow funds to be able to review it without the township having to pay for the review.
I'll make a motion to increase the fees for the fee schedule for was it planning fees?
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, brain fart. All opposed, please signify by saying no. Okay, thank you. Moving on to the planning commission. Do we want to consider appointing Laura Stockhausen as an alternate member? We did receive her resume and letter of intent
Laura's here as
earlier
well.
this month.
I don't know. Do you want to say anything, Laura?
We have the meetings on YouTube, and if it's not spoken in the mic, YouTube doesn't get it.
That's fine. I've watched a few on YouTube anyway, so I'm aware of that. Just looking to get more involved and give back to the community. I enjoy this stuff, and through some encouragement from other people, including my husband, of going, keep telling me all these things. You should tell somebody that actually can listen and do something about it. So that's my decision to, I've been encouraged to and said, no, I have stuff going on, but realizing this is part of being a community and getting involved. So That's it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and Laura's somebody I'll personally vouch for too. I actually kind of wore her down. I was one of the people that have been, she's extremely knowledgeable about the township. I think, she's somewhat lying when she says she's watched a few. I think she's watched every one of our meetings, because she questions me on them all the time. But she's super knowledgeable. She works for Metropolitan, who is a developer, so she's also very knowledgeable in development. We have talked about if something for Metropolitan, like the Hawthorne thing would come up, she'd have to abstain for that, but she's very much plugged in on the township and development planning, that kind of stuff. So I'm happy I finally wore her down, that she showed up and threw her name in the hat here.
Any other comment? Do I hear a motion to appoint Laura as an alternate member for the Planning Commission?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, please signify by saying no. Okay. Thank you, Laura. Moving on to economic development. We got some of the conversation started already, but let's defer the T&D for just a moment so we can talk about the data center public hearing for the data center overlay district ordinance. Did you want to discuss this? Is there anything to highlight?
There's not really much to say other than what you just did, that the hearing is, we're doing that at 7, correct?
Yeah, the hearing was advertised to be at 7, which will be in the beginning of your regular Board of Commissioners meeting for that month. So we'll have the hearing and then we can move right into the regular meeting. We'll have a stenographer here. Obviously, it's a hearing, so it needs to be of record. We'll have some exhibits to present, and then, public comment if there is any on the ordinance, and then the board can make a motion to adopt the ordinance if that's what they choose to do at the time.
Right. And the only other thing I guess to point out is that the final draft of the proposed overlay district is available on the township's website for anybody to see if you're interested. So moving right along back to the TND, traditional neighborhood development overlay proposal. Couple things noted here in the agenda. There was an updated draft sent to the Berks County Planning Commission. So they're in the process of reviewing that. I believe we did hear something that they're going to try to get that done as soon as possible. There was an updated draft sent to the township's Planning Commission and as well as the fire department. So all of these bodies are integral to the township's ability to think about how we are going to be planning for zoning and use of the township's land, and how we think development of the township, of land within the township, is in everyone's best interests. Greg, I know you might have some comments here. Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So I'll kind of start at the beginning and work backwards a little bit here to fill in some of the gaps, though, so that some of the comments that were made earlier make a little bit more sense for everybody. So this ordinance has been under development for quite some time. In all honesty, I don't remember exactly when we started it, but I think it was probably somewhere around December. The goal of this ordinance was to create a mixed-use development in the township at an area that would emphasize both housing and commercial development, with an emphasis on the housing for this perspective. So part of the economic development study that Delta did for us found that we have aging housing stock and we have a lack of housing stock that's currently available. One of the good things about the township is people like living here. The tough thing about that is people don't turn over all that often. So if they don't turn over, it's not easy for new people to come in, which leads to an aging of both our housing stock and our population. So we had to find ways to rectify that, because eventually that will lead into some sort of an issue. What that exactly looks like, who knows, but we need to try and keep that housing stock, one, available, and two, refreshed. So the area, when Delta analyzed, that would made the most sense as what they saw the most desirable living area. I shouldn't say the most desirable, but a very desirable area to live in the township was along the Route 10 corridor because of its access to highways, which enables people to move not just about in Berks County, but also access other counties down to the south because of the turnpike access. So you can get to Chester, Montgomery, Greater Philadelphia to work down there. So it's very commuter friendly. So what they did then is started working on an ordinance for this type of zoning, because we literally did not have zoning like this. We had commercial mixed use, which is out on our Lancaster Pike area, which Richard was referring to earlier, but we have nothing that emphasized more towards the residential development that had a commercial flavor to it as well. So Delta started out working on all this. They put a draft together, and we started working through the process that Bev was kind of discussing earlier, rather, with the first draft of that presented in the February Planning Commission. That draft was in fact a draft. Well, actually, I think it was presented at the January Board of Commissioners meeting where we looked at it first. We gave our initial thoughts on it. Then it went over to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission started working on it. We didn't get a lot of feedback at that point from the Planning Commission. I think that is a fact. To Andy's point, like saying it needs work isn't feedback. That's criticism, in my opinion, not feedback. But we did start working with both Kelsey and our engineer, Steve, at that point in time. They went and made some pretty substantial revisions to that ordinance in that time period. And that led to another revision coming out, or another draft rather, coming out in late February. That late February draft then was resubmitted into the Planning Commission for early March. That also did not get a lot of feedback from our Planning Commission. It got into the point now where it came back to the board again to look at in March, where we determined that we were ready to move this forward. And what we decided to do at that time was send it over to the Berks County Planning Commission. We sent it back to our Planning Commission, and we advised that we want to work through the process, but the process is kind of working kind of slowly. I'll use Patty's phrase that we've all become YouTube stars over the last couple months here. So there are people watching our meetings, even though there might not be thousands or hundreds of people in our meeting here, they're watching at home. And that includes developers, that includes landowners, and these folks have all been watching and listening to all this. They've seen the articles in the paper, they've seen the development study by Delta. There's a lot of interest being generated. One of the pieces of feedback they've given Delta is ease of doing business with the township is very important to them. They want to see things progress quickly, and candidly, they don't want to see things drag on for months and months and months. It leaves an impression, which is not an impression that we want to give. So we want to work through this quickly. We also recognize this is a brand new ordinance. We needed the input, to Andy's points, from all the different parties that were in here to put this together. So that's why we did run this through multiple times. And there's been lots of behind the scenes work to try and get this to the point where it's gotten today. I think we're on revision 4, maybe even 5. I've lost a little bit of count. But we could continue to ping pong this thing back and forth for months and months and months. And 6 months later, we could still be sitting here bouncing it back and forth. There becomes a point of what I would consider diminishing returns, where the feedback isn't that material anymore. And we have to decide to start moving, recognizing that it may not be perfect. But I think I'll steal one of Kelsey's phrases is there's no such thing as perfect zoning. You're always going to have somewhat of a hole in there at all points and times because you're just never going to catch everything. Somebody's always going to have some sort of unique viewpoint on it. So there becomes a point where good enough has to be good enough. So that's a little bit of the background here. Let me give you a little bit on the ordinance itself. Sorry, my phone shut down on me. It was too long. So what this ordinance is, as I kind of alluded to, it's a mixed-use residential zoning is how I would describe it. And traditional neighborhood development is not like anything that we have in the township. Candidly, it's not like anything we have in Berks County. This literally doesn't exist around here. It's a modern form of development where you take different types of housing and you surround it in a what's called a mixed-use center. So if you kind of think about it from the inside out, you have that mixed use center, which Richard was kind of talking about earlier, where you can have a mixture of like commercial uses on one floor and then or maybe residential uses on top of it. Surrounding that would be maybe like townhouses or something like that. This is all theoretical, by the way, at this point, because somebody would actually have to submit a plan to create something like this. But along those townhouses then would be surrounded by homes. And the reason that they kind of do those layers is so that it integrates into existing housing stock in the area. So if you use the Flying Hills area, as I was just kind of talking about, you would have from the street view, those kind of outside homes, those single family homes. That's kind of what you'd see from the outside, which would very much blend in with the area surrounding it. That's kind of the goal here of that traditional development, is to integrate some scale, but do it in a very efficient, more compact manner. And the reason that they do it that way is so that the upkeep on it from a township standpoint is not as much. You're not putting in as much sewer, you're not putting in as much road, you're not putting in as much sidewalk, so on and so forth. It's all getting a little bit more compacted, and it's creating like a Main Street type feel. I'd refer you out to some places out in Lancaster and Harrisburg if you've ever been to. That's where you can actually find these. You might find some in Chester and Montgomery, but not quite the same as what you have here. But basically, the goal is to kind of create that cost-effective housing where you develop new housing stock, but you also mix commercial into it so that it is revenue positive for the township. Obviously, we're not going to promote something that's going to cost us money. That doesn't make any sense for anybody up here. But we do want to try and encourage some forms of development that'll bring in new folks to the area. What exactly it'll look like, as I alluded to earlier, we won't know that until a plan comes in. But if we don't put the groundwork in, no plans will ever show up. So that's why all the discussion came about, is to how do we do this? And that's where the invitation to have the planning commission come in and talk about it. It wasn't about bullying anybody. It was an invitation that we could all sit down and talk about this together. If I was interested in bullying people, I wouldn't have invited anybody. I would have just ran them over. So it's a bit nonsensical to me to say that it was bullying, because that was definitely not the intention here.
Yeah, I want to comment on that quick to interject. I'm sure you have a couple more things to get to. I too take issue with that suggestion. Again, to like wind back the clock a little bit, those who have tuned in to maybe the last couple of years or last year and a half or so of Cumru Township's coming and goings are familiar with the fact that we contracted Delta Development to do extensive data analysis and research, demographic studies, working hand in hand with the county, working with the Berks Chamber of Commerce. We established a steering committee very intentionally with a diverse spectrum of representation, both from Cumru Township. Commissioner Miller and myself were on the steering committee, along with Ms. Leonti from our planning commission, members of the Shillington Borough, members of the Berks County Chamber of Commerce, members of the County Planning Commission. So this is not something that is being driven by an agenda or a bullying or bullying. This has been a transparent bias for action that is data driven from day one. And so I think many of us feel and see a need for action to be taken. I think we don't have to look back even as far as the Economic Development Steering Committee and all the work Delta did, and we can just wind it back to November. There were some really hard conversations in November, if anybody recalls, about the budget that Cumru Township had to work out, and it didn't go, I think, the way anybody wanted it to. But those are the sorts of conversations we're hoping to avoid in the future. And to your point, Greg, if we don't have a bias for action in proactively addressing the circumstances we see here and now today, they are not going to get better. So I know I sort of interrupted you there, but I wanted to just...
No, I think that's fine.
Would it be possible for me to say something?
Go
As the planning secretary, I just want to kind of clarify what maybe some of them were saying out there. When we were given the data center and the TND, we were told that the data center was the priority and to really work on that. So that's what everyone did. They really knuckled down and, got all their things and pushed that ahead. They were kind of told that the TND was going to be secondary and that there was time for that. So I think what they're trying to say is they were told there was time, so they're just getting the final draft. So in their minds, they thought they had the April meeting to discuss it. So I guess they're confused why it's moving ahead quicker. So they thought that, all right, originally it was going to be proposed at their April 7th meeting. That's what our meeting's all about, is to talk about the TND. And then they were thinking you would talk about this at the April meeting and, make this motion at the April meeting after Berks County got a handle on it and after they got a handle on it, because what they were saying was needs work is they really couldn't read it. It was a lot of colors and a lot of lines, and it was very confusing. And that's when the chairperson had stood up there and said, we need a more concise view of this. So when they got the more concise view, that was only last Friday, 2 Fridays, then they got another one this Friday. So that's why they're coming out with the premature. They thought that they had our meetings the 7th. They thought that they had the 7th to discuss it, especially with half the members being newer. So that's where the angst is coming from. So I just want to speak on their behalf
Sure.
as to the angst of why they thought it was moving ahead quicker.
I appreciate your relaying their feelings. I think much of that was expressed in communication. But thank you. That is important context. I think one thing I want to point out that you make sort of important to clarify is that the Planning Commission doesn't need to, nor should they, and I don't think, change anything about their plans for the meeting, irrespective of what the board decides today. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, but if the board were to decide to advertise a proposed zoning change, that the goal or the reason for doing that is to elicit feedback.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I was going to head with my comments. So one, just to respond to Patty's comments, I'm not entirely sure why nobody thought there was time pressure on this. I don't think anybody I never said that. I said quite the opposite, actually. So me, yes, I can guarantee you I said that. I lost my train of thought there for a second. But at any rate, I guess kind of where we're heading from here to Andy's point, is a recommendation. So Andy's spot on. Like, there is a time period here. It's going to be quite long to go through the process, to do all the necessary posting and all that other kind of stuff. There has to be a time period in there that allows for all this to progress. So the soonest we could do it, if we were going to align it to our meetings, would be our May meeting. So that gives a month and a half from now, basically, where we can get additional feedback in and change it. At this point, where I was kind of heading with my initial comments is, yes, there were multiple versions of this, but the meat of this hasn't changed from the first version that was presented back in February. There's definitely been changes to it. But what I mean by the meat is things like the density and the setup that I described, so on and so forth. Those things have stayed steady. And even if they came in close to the board meeting, there was nothing that was preventing anybody from the board to review it after the board meeting and give feedback back. That's what we were trying to do here, is have an integrated and iterative process where drafts were bounced back and forth, feedback was given and received, and it was moved forward. To Andy's point, what we heard from a lot of the meetings was, well, it's in rough shape, and that was it. That was the end of the feedback, and then it was a month later, basically. And just to clarify, fully acknowledge that there's new members on here. The expectation is not that our new members were going to carry this. That would be unreasonable of us to expect that. So we do not hold those same standards towards the new members. Also recognizing we don't make a whole lot of new ordinances too. So this is somewhat of a unique process to a degree, in that maybe we'll make some tweaks or changes, but this is brand new. So I get it. There's challenges for sure. But you know, I think from my perspective, we're at that diminishing returns in terms of feedback. I think the bulk of it is going to remain in place, irregardless of how much feedback we have back and forth. The county plans to have their feedback to us by the 6th, which will be before the next planning commission. So our planning commission will have that feedback from the county by then. We can take any additional feedback from the planning commission at that point. We did hear from Barb, who is the president. We took her feedback and incorporated it into that latest version that our board has today here. So we have taken feedback from lots of different people over here, recognizing that Chief Bean needs some time to do it. He's got plenty of time for that as well through the month of April. We could take additional feedback in. What I would propose is that we create a moratorium on feedback at a certain point that basically says, up until this day, we'll take additional feedback, but once this day hits, we're done. That's it, and we'll finalize the thing, and that'll be the final draft. We can talk about that date if we want to move forward in this manner. We can also talk about if we want to move forward in this manner at all. But I would like to start the process moving so that we can go to potentially look at enacting this in the month of May. And then I'll be quiet now.
I had one more quick comment, and I want to give Mark and Tanya an opportunity to speak as well, or share any thoughts. But you just brought to mind something for me, Greg, which is to suggest that there may be a moratorium resulting in a final draft, and even supposing that final draft eventually gets enacted as a Cumru Township ordinance, there is nothing precluding anyone in the township, on the board, in our planning commission, or any other relevant party to continue to add feedback and for the board to continue to amend the ordinance. So we will move forward. We will not get it perfect day one. We will strive to continue to sharpen it and make it more perfect day by day. But again, I want to stress, my personal bias is for action based on data. We spent a year collecting data. We have experts in their field recommending action, and I personally am ready to take action. I see challenges facing us every day in our budgets, constraints that the township faces. My personal opinion is we need to take action, not keep waiting and ping-ponging drafts back and forth. To your point, Greg, we need to take action and we need feedback. We had a year of transparent engagement with the residents of this township. We need more engagement with the residents of this township, but we will not sit on our hands while we have substantial challenges that the township faces.
Could I ask a question? When were you planning on advertising? I think maybe that's the critical part here.
No, I don't.
If you're going to make a motion to advertise, but are you going to wait? You were just saying about the moratorium for the final draft. So basically, I think they need to hear, you weren't advertising it tomorrow. You were going to wait for a little bit of time to get the final of the Berks County and stuff and then advertise it, because and I'm going to ask the solicitor here, once you advertise it and I have it sitting up there for people to read, it has to be like the version. Like you can't advertise it and have a version sitting out and then change it and have a different version sitting out.
If you advertise it, then that's the version. If you change it after that date and time, you have to re-advertise for a new date and set forth that new version, correct? So my suggestion would be, let's see what we get back from the Berks County Planning Commission, which may be a substantial review. If we make substantive changes to the ordinance based on the Berks County Planning Commission's review letter, then we will have to send it back to them for another review because it has substantially changed. They'll have another 30-day review period, as will the Township Planning Commission. And at that point, after those 30 days passes, at any point in time, it could be enacted, but it needs to be advertised. So that would be my suggestion, because the Berks County Planning Commission does a thorough job, and I think that they will have a lot of feedback to give, and I think it will result in a new draft of this ordinance being created. that will then have to be redistributed to the necessary parties.
So we have an item on here to talk about our May meeting because it does run into the election. So maybe we could kind of combine two things into one here, basically. If we, I don't know what everybody's schedule looks like, but if we push potentially that meeting back a week to the following Tuesday, that could push.
That's the zoning hearing board.
That's the zoning hearing board. Okay. What about the Thursday after that, the 21st? I guess the question is that available?
It's available if it works for you guys.
Yes.
Works for me too.
It does not work.
What about the 20th of May?
Works for me.
That works for me.
No conflicts here in terms of any other meetings or anything? All right, and we need 30 days, right? Is what we need in terms of advertising, right? We have to do it at least 30 days in advance.
Yeah, and like I said, we're gonna have to sit. Let me just like. I think a lot of it depends on what we get back from the planning commission and what we revise and resend to them. How long, we need to give both planning commissions 30-day review period. The advertising has to be done 2 consecutive weeks prior to hearing. And posting has to be done as well as mailing. So, I mean, I can't give you a definitive date as to when all of this can happen. We need to make sure we're complying with the code. So if you're saying you want, is what you're asking that we have the hearing to enact the ordinance in May?
Correct.
Guess it depends on feedback. Yeah.
It depends a lot on the feedback.
Yeah.
We're gonna revise it and.
So 2 consecutive weeks, that's a month, basically, right? So it. And then in terms of posting and stuff like that, does that need to be at least 30 days out? So that takes you to the 20th. We'll have the county planning commission feedback by the 6th. And our planning commission has had a couple weeks to look at this latest one. They'll have a couple weeks by then. They should be prepared to have feedback to us pretty quickly. Get feedback to Delta by the 13th. Delta will turn it quick. I'm not asking a question. I'm kind of just talking out loud, letting people react.
If you say that this is what the timeline you're giving me to work with to make sure it gets advertised for potential enactment, I will work with the timeline you give me. But I can't tell you what kind of feedback I'm going to get and how that's going to impact what everybody says and how long it takes for the different commissions to review it.
Sure, we can react. That's not a problem, but we don't meet again until the 9th? When is the next one? The 21st. So we won't be here again. So we can kind of put the timeline in motion if that's the route that we want to go. And if we need to react, we can. But I don't want to Andy's point, I don't want to sit back and wait for potential issues.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense to me. I mean, to Kelsey's point, if we get feedback and we need, and to yours as well, if we need to react, we can change plans at any point, we can pivot. I guess, Mark, Tanya, your thoughts?
Well, I think, as long as we're in compliance with the codes and, timeframes, I think moving and acting on this in a way where we are hopeful that things come in a timely way, but we're flexible to change if they don't, is the right move here because, like I said, again, we have to be in compliance. That's number one. Number two, I think if there are any, like you said, Greg, there are people watching these meetings, there's developers, there's people who are interested in what we're doing, and they see the desire on the part of the board to be flexible and to move to facilitate what they may have in their plans, I think is a good signal as well from a developer standpoint. But, we have to follow the process and, try to push it here if we can, hoping that, the feedback that we get isn't so substantial that we have to change the dates, but it might be, and then we'll just be flexible and we'll move it.
I agree with what Mark just said. We need to be compliant. We need to follow the proper timelines. And I think we're just kind of at the holding pattern to see what comes back from the county commission. And then we'll just work from there.
Come right to you. While you make your way up, I just wanted to add a quick comment. I too watch some of these YouTube videos. One that just sprung to mind is a video of one of the planning commission hearings where Mr. Keffer wisely pointed out that the Berks County Planning Commission, and this is not a slight to ours by any means, is fully staffed with full-time employees who do this all day, every day. We do not want to go around these experts. We want their feedback. This is not an effort to evade feedback. This is an effort to get it and to get it quickly, incorporate it, and to act.
Glenn Emery, 4A Fairway Road. I'm a little distressed about the use of the word bullying. I've seen a couple prior versions of this board where there was obviously bullying that was taking place from the dais. Haven't seen that now. In fact, what I've seen is a whole new attitude. And the public, of course, voted for your representation, as you pointed out. And it's a feeling that, yes, indeed, you do work for us. And when the transition finally happened, the way that we have the whole setup now, I tried to think a little bit about a metaphor. I'm full of metaphors, and somebody would call it something else. But I see the old steam engine train, hobbling along off to the distance, and in comes the new Excella Streamliner. Things aren't going to stop. We need people that have some idea of getting the job done. There's a lot of things happening in this community right now that we don't really see, and it involves that piece of land over there behind Flying Hills. And what has happened in the last 4 years is incredible. We can't delay. The developers, they're like sharks, they're like sly foxes, and they see an opportunity, they see bleeding. We have to take action before preemptive action. The data center, everybody, I don't know, it's a pretty involved document, but read it. And it's done to protect our community before they find a way to get around it. So I applaud what's happening here. The old engine is gone. Here's the new Excella. We all want to get on. We want to ride on this baby and see what's going to happen in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Emery. I guess bringing it back, is there a motion to be had based on the conversation or deliberation around the
Could I offer a suggestion just to see if it works for you guys? You were saying like April 20th as one of the day, for like the 30-day thing. Your meeting's the 21st. Everybody should have all their stuff back. What if you made your advertising on the 21st, like, and move forward from there? I don't know about your schedules. You could check your schedules, but you had suggested that the following Tuesday, but it's a zoning hearing board. What about the following Wednesday? Then you could do your April 21st meeting. You could do all this stuff. It gives everybody plenty of time to get it all together. And then you could still enact it at the May meeting, and it might give you just enough wiggle room to get it all in there. Just thinking outside the box, but throwing it out at the board to decide.
So I guess, Patty, just to make sure I'm following the bouncing ball here, your suggestion is to push back the April 21st meeting a week,
No.
the May meeting a week. Okay.
If it works for you, then you could advertise it after, have this on the agenda and make a motion, advertise it at the April meeting, start the whole thing, get it advertised, get the letters out, do everything for your May meeting and still have it, but it would just give a little bit of buffer room in there to get everybody's comments back.
I mean, I could do the 27th if others can.
So, 27th is my wife's birthday, and I'm not taking a township meeting on my wife's birthday.
You could invite her. Well, the 25th is Memorial Day. You could push back to the 28th.
I could do the 28th.
I could do the 28th.
I think I could do the 28th too.
Are you sure?
Not a 2-day celebration after all.
It's not like a week-long thing or something like that.
Because you might like that.
Does that work for us, solicitor?
Yeah, I can make that work.
So for clarification, it was the 19th, but we moved it to the 20th. Now we're saying the 28th, correct?
Yeah, instead of doing the 19th because of the conflict with the election, we had to move that anyway. That's on our agenda for later on. We can kind of kill two birds with one stone, move our May meeting back to the 28th of May, and then we could potentially look to review for advertising this ordinance in April. I think it's a good suggestion you have, Patty. I appreciate it. I think it does give time, but I guess I would just say like I'll steal Glenn's phrase and say like the train's leaving the station then. So like we're going, like no more delays then.
Yeah, that works for me. If it's what everyone needs, that's what we got to do. That should be adequate time, I think.
In the meantime, though, I did want to just, Mark and Tanya, do you have any feedback you wanted to give on the ordinance as you see it so far, or?
I don't at the moment.
I don't at the moment.
Okay. All right, then let's roll forward with that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right.
I think I'm the only one left, but am I correct that you did want some comments from the planning commission if they had them?
Shoot.
There were two things. I apologize. I was really late to learn about this just since it was today. But there were two comments I wanted to make. One, as a Flying Hills resident, the section talking about trash. It talks about with the dumpster, it talks about, let me clarify, it's under section F for other, I don't know the page number, I apologize. But it clarifies for houses, which I assume also would, it's D is for multifamily, which I assume is apartments and shared trash, but the others, it doesn't specify a need for being able to be picked up by the automated trash trucks as you are going to deal with later for Flying Hills. I didn't know if that should be clarified in there so that in the future the township's not dealing with this a la carte trash.
That's a good point because it does talk about the fencing of trash in there. maybe we could clarify that to say basically it has to be accessible to, I don't know what the right verbiage is, but we could probably come up with something, right? Or to Laura's point, we'll just create another problem basically where we'd have another refuse issue.
I just want to take an aside for a moment and commend Laura for having been on the job for maybe an hour now and offering feedback, having read the proposed zoning ordinance. Thank you.
The other item, I think it's under the mixed use, section C, it says lanes, all lots less than, there's nothing, and then says shall be provided with rear access via a lane. I believe a measurement should be provided in there, just as a clerical comment on that. And that was all. Like I said, I'm a little bit of a nerd with the details.
Do you have the final copy from last Friday?
I did receive one earlier today, just as a.
Okay. Do you have the maps and everything? I can
I did
send
not receive
I
them.
can send all the stuff to you
I'll
tomorrow.
send you my
since-
address before I leave, my email
I
address.
think it was on your resume?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. So Kelsey will get that feedback then too when you give it to Patty. She can look at that precise area.
That was a great conversation. I think more to come there, but moving along, capital budget itemization requests for RAC P. Did you want to speak on this, or was this?
I mean, I guess I could, or Patty or Peter. I don't know if anybody has a preference.
I consulted with Delta and we had a meeting and they said how the RACP works is you get you put in your request and then it's one step closer. You can get put on the list and then they can select items from that list. So we applied to Representative Guzman's office to be considered for a line item for our community and economic development projects. So I sent that request and Delta helped provide the form. So that deadline was today. So we got that in. So hopefully we can get on their list and then we're one step closer to being accepted as grants come along.
Yeah, so this isn't actually a request for anything in particular. It just kind of gets you on the docket basically so that later you can come and request specific things then.
Awesome. Thank you, Patty, and thanks to the administrative staff for getting that out there. We'll take all the money we can get. We don't have any specific agenda items for you, Chief. I know we got through a lot of your stuff earlier. Any update for the board? All right. Thank you. Chief Bean, any update on your end from the fire department? Admin, I'll turn it over to you, Peter.
One caveat. I have not had the time to closely match the financial capacity with capital needs, and we'll be doing that in the next few weeks.
Peter, could I interrupt you? I'm sorry. Could you just give a brief, for the public, could you give a brief summary overview, what we're talking with the capital?
This is a
program,
a 5-year capital plan program, which is a planning document. The departments will identify the things that they feel are needed by the township in terms of capital, paving roads, building sewers, buying police cars, buying equipment, that type thing. This, in the first page, the first 2 pages, the letter, I've defined capital as anything $10,000 and above. You can read that. This is a living document. The first part is a letter. Then there is a summary, 2 summary sheets, which summarizes the worksheets that follow. Each department will be filling out detailed worksheets about what it is they're requesting, what the need is, and how they propose to fund it. That will cover all of the operating departments plus recreation. In the last 2 pages, I've provided the previous year's fund balances for each of the funds that the township has. And there'll be a running monthly balance, reporting of the balances of all the funds. It gives an opportunity to evaluate whether the asking is going to be affordable. For example, if you're going to be paving streets and you're going to be using liquid fuels, you can look at how much liquid fuels we get, and you can judge whether we're going to be able to do what it is you want to do. It's going to take some time to look at it. It will change continuously. It will change as grants come in, as priorities occur. This document comes to the board several months before the board considers the budget. You'll be asked to approve, change, modify. You'll be asked to approve a 5-year capital program. The current year, the next year of that program becomes the capital budget in your budget discussions. And it's subject to change. If things change and we can't afford to do what it is we want to do, or we want to borrow money to do more, whatever the board decides, that will be reflected in the budget, and it will change the capital program. Up until this point, it has been very difficult for me to pull together all the capital askings. And the priorities were not clear. The intent here is to bring it to one place so that it's clear that the board will be able to look at that and determine what it is, why they need it, what the priorities are. So that's what the 5-year capital program is.
Well, I just have to say thank you for your hard work on this. I know, if I can speak on your behalf for just a second, Greg, I know this is something I should say both Greg and I have expressed has been a challenge in just understanding, like you said, pulling together and sort of having a mental model, not just of like what's being asked today, what the greater picture is. So it will be immensely helpful.
I hope in the future.
Yeah, and I appreciate it, Peter. This, to Andy's point, like this is something we've been striving towards for years. The numbers are large on here, which is not a surprise, but like it's I guess a pleasant surprise in a twisted way, in that like we actually know what the picture looks like. It's somewhat of a realization of some of my fears that we had a lot of I'll call pent-up debt in terms of work that's required. That's what we'll work through, to Peter's point. I mean, now we at least know what the picture looks like. So then it just becomes about decision making and where we want to head from here. But we needed a map. So now we at least have something that we can read and we can figure out where to go from. So I know this is a really heavy ask. Once again, thank you to Peter. and it sounds like Mike was involved and whoever else was involved. Just thank you to everybody because this really paints the picture. To Peter's point, we'll have to digest it a little bit, but at least we have something to work off of now.
And it
So
will
thank
change
you.
as things change. I mean, we do have to spend a little more time looking at the financial capacity and matching that with the capital needs.
Yeah, I saw Mount Penn Road was on here, which is one just personally I drive down quite frequently. And in all honesty, I don't like driving down it anymore. It's like landmines all over that thing. So
It's not the only one.
oh, it's not the only one, but I just was paging through pretty quickly and saw it on there. So I was like, yeah, these guys are on top of it. So you know what you're doing. Once again, thank you for everything. And then I'll be quiet and let somebody else talk.
Really, thank you. This is tremendous. You know, I love a spreadsheet, so I appreciate it. And it breaks it down and makes it more comprehensive, and it helps to give vision to the long term and where to prioritize and allocate, the public's funds. So great work. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Just for the public's sake too, to maybe give you an insight into what we're looking at. Actually, I don't think everyone can see what we're seeing. One page, for instance, this is not to pick on you, Mike, Public Works, Highway Sewer Capital Projects. We have 2026, 2027, 28, 29, 30. What major capital improvements will be needed or requested for our Public Works team to execute their mission, so to speak? In 1 year we have some trucks, another year a mower. We have a dump truck that will be, I'm sure, meeting some sort of lifetime, whatever. You guys track this stuff. What this gives the board now is very clear insight into what the ask is, what the consequence of that ask is for the following year, and so on. So again, this is extremely helpful.
And to build on Andy's comments, there's a lot of aging infrastructure in the township, which is why I could say these numbers, while somewhat large, they're not as surprising to me. So, once again, a lot more discussion to be held, and we'll see where it goes.
Item B, refuse contract. Any update here? I know this has been an ongoing conversation.
Just for your information, I have specs that can be used as a draft. That could be changed to reflect our situation, but at least we don't have to start from scratch.
Perfect. And then you have the roads in Flying Hills, what would work and what doesn't work.
We haven't done that yet.
Got it. Just wanted to make sure you had it.
Yeah.
Got it. And then from my end, I talked to Chase Whitman this week. And what Chase has done, has contacted 3 different haulers. He should have updates in terms of bids by next week as to what they can get in terms of a price. He priced out all of the townhouses and condos for Flying Hills. Apartments are already serviced by themselves. So he just specifically is pricing those out. He's not going to actually act on anything until we have our numbers so that he can kind of compare and contrast. But he has 3 different haulers that he has reached out to as well.
Good.
Okay. An update on.
I'm sorry, just one more thing on that. So are we still targeting June to actually bid? Is that what we're looking for? I mean, put the bid specs out there and get everything ready.
Yeah, June would probably be the earliest. I mean, I'm not here that many days, but yes, I mean.
We can, I guess I'm kind of, should we push it back? Should we make it July? Like, well, what's reasonable?
I don't know.
Okay.
I can't tell you.
Let me just say, let's target June, and if we need to slide, we'll slide.
Sure.
Perfect.
Item C, sewer billing update. Did we have anything on that? Hi, Kristen. Hi, Kristen. Thank you.
So the only update is after the meeting, we were able to, the admin staff was able to get all 1,400 some odd letters in the mail by Friday. So anybody who did not pay their sewer bill should have received a letter by now, basically stating, if you don't have your bill, give a call. We will definitely give you the numbers. Obviously, some people have come in to pay that. We still have a ton that are unpaid. So kind of just waving through right now, who are the normal non-payers versus people who just didn't get the bill. So I believe the 17th is the date for the final, and don't quote me on that, but I think that we've had it on the letter as the 17th of April is as the deadline.
What,
Without penalty.
without penalty, right? But I was gonna
That's
ask,
right.
what did we discuss after the 17th? What happens to those folks who haven't paid? Do they get another notice in the mail or?
Well, typically at that point, we would add the penalty at that point, and then usually about 2 quarters later is when we end up submitting it to the collection agency. So you do have time to pay it, even if you do have the late fee to rectify it before it gets the extra penalty from the collection agency. And of course, that amount is on the next quarter's bill as well. So it's not like it's just totally not out there. Your total goes from $300 to $600. So
It'll appear on the card that goes
Right.
out. It'll have
right,
both quarters.
right.
Yeah, okay.
And I should report that we are actively looking at new billing systems.
I think one of the things I saw on the website was we kind of left our last meeting as you were going to investigate if we can credit those late fees back for people that paid them to like future bills, and it looks like you can do that.
So essentially, we were able to reverse out the entry that put them on. So anybody who had it paid, it'll show as a credit on their account.
Perfect.
So next quarter, it'll be a little bit lower.
I just want to quickly, and I think, Peter, you'll echo this, express immense gratitude to Kristen, Patty, and our administrative staff. We certainly realize that when the board makes decisions such as that, it puts an immense burden on you and our very, very small administrative staff that has undergone substantial change and is already working very, very hard. So from the board, thank you for your very hard work. Thank you for taking action when we need you to take action.
I would say amen to that. It's accurate.
Your efforts are very much appreciated. Moving to item D, the 2026-2027 insurances, unless there was anything else there.
We're working with the insurance broker. We would like authorization to bind coverage.
Do I hear a motion to authorize the administration to bind coverage for 2026-2027 insurances? Or is there any deliberation that needs to happen here first?
I'll make a motion to bind coverage.
Do I hear a second?
Did you second it?
I'll second motion.
Sorry, I thought I couldn't tell if you seconded it or not.
I think I'll second the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, moving along to Public Works. Mike, what do you got for us?
Good evening. The only thing I have for the board tonight is an update on the Poplar Neck Bridge. Last week, we submitted our capital budget request to the Pennsylvania House Transportation Committee. So we got our project on that list, and we'll wait to see if we hear a decision on funding.
Thank you for doing that. Yeah, take all the money we can get. Anything else? That's all we got. Kelsey, over to you.
I'm sorry, Mike, do you want to just give the total that we got?
We had our bridge engineer STV do a cost analysis, and they came up with a total of $2,440,000 to rehab the bridge. And that's per the inspection given by the state. They analyzed it, and that's what they came up with.
So that's why we're looking towards, some assistance on this. That's quite an expensive project.
Now over to you.
All right, this item on your agenda was an item that actually is kind of old. It was from like October of 2025. It's with respect to the property at 4,000 Shillington Plaza, which is the Ocean State Job Lots Plaza, where like Harbor Freight is, and I'm sure you're all familiar with that. Their attorneys approached us last year because they are attempting to attract a tenant into one of the empty spaces at the property. And they were finding it difficult to do because of a right-of-way agreement that the township had entered into and recorded on the property with respect to a sewer pipe that goes behind the property. It is in a place where a loading dock would typically go for these tenants to be able to, unload whatever goods that they're planning on selling from the place or whatever they need. And the right-of-way agreement actually restricts the property owner from interfering with that sewer pipe in any way, which means not being able to place anything over top of it that would prevent the township from accessing it to maintain it, repair it, because it is the township's responsibility. So they approached us about, in order to try to get a tenant in there, coming up with some way for them to be able to have this loading dock on the property if they agreed to do certain things. We had several meetings, and their attorney did send me a memorandum of understanding as well as an amendment to the right-of-way agreement. Basically, what the proposal is in both of these documents is to indicate that in exchange for us agreeing to amend the right-of-way agreement to allow them to put the loading dock over top of that sewer pipe, they're going to pay for us to be able to line the pipe, which Bob was involved in this, and I think Mike was too. And Mike can speak on the lining of the pipe because I'm not real technical about that, but apparently it should increase the life of the pipe and help keep it maintained better so that it doesn't fail and you need to maintain it more often. And by doing that, then we won't have to tear up their loading dock, a year after they install it. So the exchange was they're going to line that pipe. They're going to pay all of the engineering fees, all of the legal fees for all of the documents that were created and all of the engineering that will have to go into it. And so it's basically a free lining for the township in exchange for them to have a loading dock to attract a new tenant. I reviewed all the documents. I did make changes that I sent to the attorney back in, I think, December, I want to say, of 2025. I didn't hear anything back. Finally got an email, I think it was last week, and he was like, I forgot to hit send, but your changes are acceptable. So this kind of came back on the radar, and I wanted to bring it to the board's attention and see if the board wanted to entertain authorizing the execution of the amendment to the right-of-way agreement and the memorandum of understanding.
Did I suggest something? If things go wrong, even when you don't think they will, there should be a provision in there that if something collapses or if the sewer doesn't work, we should be able to get in and excavate, even if they have a loading dock, and we shouldn't have to pay for it.
Yeah, there are provisions, Peter, in the agreement about, first of all, emergency access. Like, we don't need to give them any reasonable like we can just go in and start digging if there is a sewer break and things like that. They will be responsible for we're responsible for maintaining that pipe no matter what to get to it and everything else, but we're not going to put their loading dock back together. That cost would be on them if we ever need to get in there.
Okay.
If you want, we can table this until next meeting if Peter wants a chance to review the documents.
No.
The attorney also emailed me and said that if you wanted to hear from him on behalf of the owner of the property, he would be willing to appear at your next meeting and answer any questions you may have. So you can either table it or we can move forward tonight. It's up to the board.
One attorney's enough for me, but we got ours. We don't need theirs. I did have a quick question, and I wanted to get if you had any input on here, Mike. But I wanted to ask you quick, Kelsey. The MOU for sewer lining, this a memorandum of understanding, the sewer lining, will it take place specifically behind one tenant that they're trying to attract, or will this amend or sewer line the entire pipe behind the building?
I'm gonna throw that question to Mike. The sewer lining quote does have like a distance of pipe that they are agreeing to line, and I think it goes not just behind that one space, but the whole line behind the building.
Yeah, I believe it's the entire expanse back there.
Yeah, the cost is it's about a little over 20,000.
Okay, just the only reason I ask is my concern would be if they're not doing that, but then we waive the right of way agreement, we don't. I mean, do we get ourselves into trouble there?
Yeah, no, the right of way agreement, the only amendment, it's very specific, is that they can put a loading dock there. There's no other interference permitted with our maintenance, repair, anything else.
Mike, do you feel comfortable with this?
Oh, yeah. The lining is structural, so it's actually stronger than the original pipe. Everything's spelled out in the agreement, so if we have to get in there, we can. I'm confident that the language is suitable.
Great, thank you.
I mean, if Mike's good with it, I'm good with it. If we want to move it forward.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right. All in favor of signing a memorandum of understanding for the sewer lining and amendment to the right of way agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, moving on to correspondence. The RATS Long Range Transportation Plan flyer for public meetings was received March 23rd this year. RATS is remind me the acronym, it's transportation.
Reading Area Transportation.
Okay. So there's a lot of planning being done in the Berks and beyond transportation. Probably a lot of good information there. We do have a Board of Commissioners meeting scheduled for May 19th. We did discuss, did we? 28th. Okay.
28th, and it's at 7 o'clock, right? Okay, because I'll re-advertise that.
Perfect. And then one unfortunate piece of news. Got it. Thank you, Kelsey.
So if anyone remembers at the last meeting, there was a motion to appoint Glenn Emery as an alternate member to the Civil Service Commission. Glenn is also on the vacancy board. So when I was asked the question, could he serve on both? I looked at the vacancy board rules. I did not look at the Civil Service Commission rules. Unfortunately, the Civil Service Commission rules, after revisiting them, indicate that someone on the Civil Service Commission cannot hold another township position. So at this point, we would need a motion to rescind appointing Glenn as the alternate member of the Civil Service Commission, assuming he wants to stay on the vacancy board and not join the Civil Service Commission. Okay.
I'll make that motion to rescind.
I'll second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
I'm sorry about that, Glenn.
And just as a matter of follow-up, I do have another interested party, so we can look at him for our April meeting then.
Moving on, We got a presentation here from Commissioner Ferraro.
Not gonna sing the song, but sorry. Okay. That was to revive the Flying Hills blues or whatever. Okay. I don't know, should I turn one off or do I guess? Yeah. All right. Okay, so I'm going to, let me move here so people can see the presentation. So I'm going to talk to you tonight about an effort that we've been working on. I've been working with the administrative department, Peter, Patty, Kristen, and it's a pretty exciting project, I think. We're going to try to take our website into the 21st century and present. We're going to modernize our website. We're going to present the township, I think, in a better light through this effort. But this redesign is more than just the website. It's kind of a new vision, you know, like we've talked about tonight, the new direction, the Acela train. Well, we want to be kind of representing the township and its direction and its speed and its service to the residents here. So that is what we're going to talk about. So first impressions matter on the internet, and I'm sure you guys have all been on websites and use the internet to search various things, and you can tell, you know, when you get to a website that's kind of text heavy, it has a look, and ours is currently it's outdated. One of the things I'll click on here is, oops, go back. I don't know if my animations are working. I had worked on some animations, which basically have another. All right. Well, our this what you see right here is our current website. If you go on your phone. So as you can see, it's very hard to read. It's very hard to see navigation and to get around. Behind that, if I was to show you, there's another website that Why Missing is one that I put on there. And many townships, municipalities have what are mobile friendly or mobile optimized sites, which ours is not. And I don't think this really showcases our township's strengths. So this is our digital front door. The current website versus modern. Again, I have animations behind this because I wanted to showcase some other townships websites. I don't know that will, let's see. If I have to, nope. I may need an assist, Mike.
Are you able to play it from the laptop? Oh, okay.
No, I guess it's not. All right. Well, all right. We'll pivot here. What I can tell you is, you know, from what we're seeing, this is the current website on a desktop. And again, what I talked about was that our current website is very text heavy and requires users to search and kind of dig for the information that they want to find. And modern websites, which are kind of layered behind here, or they organize the information much more clearly and make it easier for residents to get to what they need to quickly. Also, as I said, they're optimized for mobile experience. And one of the things that, I don't know if you know this, but the many townships that I talk to in my reference sites have reported their data shows that 50 to 60% of people that come to their websites are actually using their mobile device. So it's to our benefit to definitely optimize for mobile users. One of the other things that's kind of very appealing about the modern websites is that there's a graphical element, which ours is lacking. They're more visually appealing. They're sticky in that way. People, enjoy many of these have kind of like a rotating pictures that you would see of the townships or the municipalities and the things that people come to see when they go to those townships and municipalities. So they're just, like I said, more sticky. There's also one of the things that those sites have, you'll see sort of kind of not very readily apparent, but it's just what are the things that when people come to your website are the things that they want to get to. So when we redesign our website, we'll have those navigational elements much more readily viewable as opposed to what we have now, which kind of has things buried. So, I guess it's, to say it's not just about aesthetics, it's about usability, it's about accessibility, and it's communicating to our residents that we're going to effectively serve them. And many people, we have people that come into the township rarely. There's not a lot of people that come here to do business, but they do business and they know us through the website. So it's important for us to have a very friendly and compelling site. So let me go next to what was our evaluation process that we used to look at companies who would perhaps build us a new website. So we did vendor demos, and as I said, Peter, Patty, Kristen, I involved them in the process. So we sat through a couple of demos that were very informative and interesting. We also conducted, I called reference interviews. So I talked to 5 different municipalities who have used the companies that we were evaluating and talked to them for 45 minutes to an hour to find out what their experience was like and how, they went about it. One of the other things that was mentioned tonight and that we looked at as we were talking about our utilities payment system, that it's currently, paper-based, and we send the bills out to people, and people are only able to pay us by check through the mail or come in and, bring their checks in. But most municipalities, even locally and even more so nationally, use an online payment system as an option. Not that it's the only thing, but there's capabilities for them to pay by check, by ACH, by credit card, and this is a standard. And so we're kind of behind the standard. We're not giving people the option to pay in different ways. And by doing so, I think we're going to increase our compliance and we're going to increase our revenue and probably reduce the effort and time that the administrative staff is spending, chasing people to get them to pay. So the other thing we looked at was open source. And I know, Andy, we talked about ownership of what we're doing, and that was kind of looking at a third option. The two that we're going to focus on here are both what's called content management systems. The open source model, there are companies that use like open source content management systems. And I just wanted to have sort of another choice and to see what the cost would be and what the strengths or weaknesses of that approach would be. So the two that we looked at primarily were two that specialize in building websites for municipalities. And those two are Revise and Civic Plus. And you can see here the bullet points. They're both focused on building websites for municipalities. One, Revise, is smaller than Civic Plus, who has 10,000 plus local governments. Revise has about 1,500, but they have a content management system that's focused on the needs of municipalities, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. But With Revise, they're known for very strong customer support, and that came through in the interviews that I did with people that I have gone and used them. And Civic Plus is kind of more of like an enterprise level municipal system. But like I said, they both specialize in what we need. These were the reference sites that I talked to from California, Georgia, Texas, a couple here in Pennsylvania. And they were all very conversational and informative meetings that we had. So the first thing that we talked about too, or one of the things we talked about, was the website and the payment system are not they're not tied together. Like, you can do a website without doing a payment system, and the payment system is not tied to the website. So one of the things that we learned from this, as we were talking to Wyomissing Borough, actually, who uses a vendor called Edmunds GovTech, and Wyomissing has been using them for about 10 years. And all of the municipalities that I talked to use this type of approach to handle their payment system. So you have the website, so the resident would come to the website, but then they would go to the payment page, the utility payment page, and they would click on that link, and it would take them to a third-party site, which is a secure payment portal. And it usually tells people, like, you're now exiting the website. And so, those companies like Edmunds GovTech, and there are a number of others, have secure sites that they set up with that integrate with your finance systems, your billing systems. So it's kind of like very automated, and doesn't require a whole lot of effort on our part, because we're not going to necessarily be hosting it. That's going to be through their portal, and we would have to do some work to set up through our bank and so forth. But anyway, just making the point here that it's a separate system, and again, it's an industry standard. So by doing this, we're going to be able to reduce the number of phone inquiries for balances and payments, because that would also be accessible through the online payment system. Reduces the number of errors, reduction in walk-in and mailed payments. And I think we can increase our revenue and reduce delinquencies by doing this as well. So looking at Revise and Civic Plus, there's commonalities here. They're both very easy to use. They both meet our core needs. And the decision is really more based on what's the best fit for us right now in our long-term strategy. So that is what we're looking at. Civic Plus has a lot of features. The downside is higher cost, and they're very modular. So they kind of, like, you can get the base website, but then you end up spending a lot on the add-ons that they have. It's a very strong platform, but again, as you'll see, I kind of am leaning towards Civic Plus and recommending that. Revise, lower cost. The feedback that I got from the reference sites was that it was very easy for staff to use, and they have very strong support. In fact, some of the municipalities that I talked to said, they'd been working with the same account rep for like 15 years. So I think the smaller company is a benefit there, because they just seem to have like more of a personal relationship with the municipalities that they work with. So this is an area that they stood out in. So looking at a cost comparison now, this is our 5-year cost comparison of Revise versus Civic Plus versus open source. Oh, what did I do? Did I go over time? Am I off? Come on, all right. Maybe I hit a button here. Yeah, right. That's right. Sorry, you didn't see that. A couple more. 1, 2, there we go. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, so this just kind of gives you a 5-year cost comparison of the 3 options that I looked at. So we have revise at 5-year cost between $20K to $30K, Civic Plus between $75 to $100K, and open source between $80 to $160K. Revise, from what I can determine, delivers similar functionality at a much lower cost, obviously, than the others that we see there. 3 to 4 times as much for Civic Plus. And Revise, aligns well with our situation. You know, we're trying to be very cost conscious. You know we need to improve, but we also just have to make decisions that are cost conscious. So the next slide I have is there are some enhancements that I think we could benefit from in the initial phase here if the board determines if we want to do that. But it's optional and it's modular, so we can add these later. But we did talk about these in our meetings with the admin staff. Oh my. So I can keep talking for 4 more hours. So yes, we talked about a couple of things that I think could help the township in the initial project. One is email notifications. One of the reasons I think that this would help is we talk about outreach to our residents and providing them with information from the various departments, the fire department, the police department, public works. This is an opt-in system. People would, have to sign up in order to get these notifications. But I think $700 a year could really improve our communication with residents. One thing that's coming up, and I'm definitely saying this is why we have to go forward now with this project, is there are requirements that the federal government is putting into place for municipalities that go into effect if we're over 50,000 people, which we're not, but they go into effect this April. For municipalities that are under 50,000, ADA accessibility requirements kick in, and those are pretty substantial. We would be out of compliance, certainly. And so this move that we're making here is will help us address that. And there are this add-on here is accessibility tools, which help you to make your website ADA accessible. So, there are certain things you have to do with images, with documents to make them readable. This is for people that are visually impaired, they're colorblind, various disabilities. So I think for $450 a year, that would be definitely a value add. There are some other things here too. AI chatbots. So this is an add-on which will allow people to come to the site and then interact with a chatbot to get information, very directed information on the website that may help our admin staff. Again, the other thing I'm kind of looking at here is ways to minimize the effort and time that our admin staff has, because we were a little bit challenged in staffing to handle some of this. AI content generator is just a way to generate new pages on the website very quickly without somebody, having a copywriter and somebody to have to create them. And then there's a community and business directory add-on that's a $1,500 one-time fee. So those are all optional, and they don't have to be done right out of the gate, but I am recommending at least a couple of them. Our reference insights, again, talking to 5 different municipalities, they all kind of support that, Revise is very easy to use, strong support, cost effective. The most consistent message I received was usability and support matter more than features. And that internal capacity is critical for success. And that's something that I think if we go forward with this project, we have to make sure, and we have talked about this, identify a point of contact internally that the web development project could talk to that person, get what's needed, and move the project along quickly. So that's kind of an important factor that we have to make sure we're taking care of. So my recommended approach here is that we do phase one, starting, as soon as we can get approval from the board, is to redesign the website. This would be, potentially like a 6-month long project to get it done. Simultaneously, we're, as Peter said, we're talking with companies that can help us with the payment, the online payment system. So that's kind of phase two. It doesn't have to happen at the same time, but that would be kind of phase two, is to add the online payments to our project. And then phase three would be add-ons, expansion of the website to, have other features and functionalities that we need. This approach reduces risk and allows us to move forward immediately. And, we don't have to solve everything all at once with this approach. And why this works, this is a practical and responsible approach. It fits our staffing needs, it controls cost, and it's scalable. What happens if we do nothing? That's always an option. We can sit and, just wait. But I think that is not the right move here, because it continues the poor experience for our residents who use our website. And I think there's a missed opportunity as well for Cumru Township to showcase its assets and growth. The other risk for us here is as I mentioned, the ADA compliance risk as new federal requirements take effect for us in April of 2027. And as I said, if it takes us 6 months to do this project, we kind of need to act and move on this now. Another, if we don't do anything, there's, I think, some risk for ongoing staff inefficiency with our outdated tools. Again, back to the online payment system. I think this needs to happen sooner than later. And then, in terms of we're falling behind with our peer municipalities. I mean, as we are talking here about development and we're talking about growth and increased tax base here, I think we have to project the strengths that we have in this township, and we have to do that through the doors. The website is the door to our township, electronically at least. So it's not a do nothing neutral decision. It has consequences if we don't do anything. So final recommendation is to proceed with revise and modernize our website responsibly. This is a practical, responsible step forward. This is not the end state. This is the right starting point that positions the township well for the future. So, does anybody have questions?
One point that I just wanted to clarify, Mark, so that outreach, the notifications you were talking about, that's an add-on. That's not a standard feature.
That's correct.
All right. I mean, from my perspective, I don't know what everybody thinks, but I think that's like one of the must happens here. Because that's one of our biggest weaknesses. When something goes on, people just don't know. If we just plop something on the front page of our website, people don't normally just browse the Cumru Township website. I mean, unless they're going there for some sort of purpose, they don't see it. So we put the notifications out there. I think Mark and Tanya, I sent a video to you a month or so ago when trash collection got delayed because of snow in my neighborhood, and every house in my neighborhood had their trash out on the normal trash day. Even though we put it up on the website, not one place other than mine delayed the trash. Nobody saw it. So the notifications for me are like a must-have as part of this. I think it's sadly lacking. We can't reach our folks when we need to with critical information. That's just one example. There's multitudes of example. Road closures for whatever reason. Construction's going to happen here and there. There's multitudes of different reasons. Snow emergencies. I could keep going on, but there's reasons we need to reach people. We can't do it right now.
Right. One of the other sort of built-in features in the standard out-of-the-box offering is integration with Facebook, which from what in talking to the other townships, and we don't really have a township Facebook page. There are, Cumru for Tomorrow, and there's kind of other community sites that are for Cumru. But the nice thing about that was posting to your website then pushes those updates out to your township Facebook page automatically, which I thought was pretty nice, in terms of efficiency. But I think we should have our own township Facebook page. And, from what I talked to the other townships, said that that's still a major engagement point, social media wise, to have that is important.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That was actually one of the things I wanted to ask you about. I was probably going to wait, but I think one of the things I think it's really important to. So I think most in the room understand this is the stuff I do pretty much on a day-to-day basis in some way or another. The way the internet works is links. That's how it works, period, fundamentally. What that means is when we publish something to our website, that's not a link to anything. If we push that out further, it's driving, there's a stream, there's a direction of traffic on the internet. The more we get stuff out, the more people come to our website. If we're not directing people in on the internet into our website, people are not using our website. People are not Googling or like typing in, oh, I know cumrutownship.com. They're directed there by external links. So that's 100% what we need. I think that will give them the information they need immediately and then show them something else because of an intuitive design that you were talking about. This is awesome.
And there's other things too that we pull people in through what we're offering on the website. One of the things that I'm excited about is like the codification that we're going to be doing, that project, and then putting the codes on our website so people can, it's like a full service situation where you can search the codes and use this tool that gets you, it's searchable. So if I know I'm looking for a code related to, I don't know, dilapidated housing or something like that, or, I don't know, whatever it is, the website has built-in search capabilities, which will allow them to get to that quickly. We had a gentleman in here a couple of weeks ago who was looking for a code and going out on Google and finding things that weren't really, they weren't related to our township code. So anyways, I'm excited about the potential to, provide service like that.
Mark, this is great. I know you put a lot of work into it, so we appreciate that. I did have a question. You had mentioned that they would like a point person, an administrative. Do they offer like any kind of training, support the person that we would designate for that?
Yeah, we have designated Patty at this point. Thank you, Patty, and Peter is a secondary as well. But one of the great things I think about Revise that I heard from the reference sites was how good a job they do with training and support. They have an online ticketing system, but you can also pick up the phone and call. So yeah, we need to make sure we give our admin team all the support that they can get and help them be successful. Harry. Yes. There's integration with the financial systems that we have in place. We're going to talk to Dynamics, which is the current provider that we have that has apparently some online payment to like module. They're kind of like modules. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That gets exactly. Yeah. There's integration. Yeah. With our current or future as we're interviewing our, yeah, no, we don't want to create more work for the team there. So it's gonna, if we move forward with it, and again, like I said, it's an industry standard. The feedback that I heard from like talking to Wyomissing Borough was how much time it saved and how well it worked for Wyomissing. And the other townships that I talked to all, was kind of like a de facto standard. It just works. And, not everybody uses it. Not everybody wants to pay that way, but you're giving them an option, which I think will be great.
Just a comment. Besides supporting this, I want to give Mark credit for all the work he's done in this. He's made it really easy for the rest of us.
No problem, Peter. It's something that I actually used to run a web development company. That was something that I did for a lot of years, so I'm familiar with this, and I'm excited to see our website, become a modern website and see how that pairs along with all these other things that we're doing that are really gonna jumpstart our community.
We just talk real quick too about the ADA, because you made a very good point earlier, Mark. If this is a 6 month project, we're already at the end of March here. We're basically running right into that deadline.
Mm-hmm.
So that one seems like it's almost like a must-have too.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm sorry, Joe, go ahead.
The cost for us to do this 6 month redesign is going to be, depending on which add-ons we go with, it'll be between $10,000 and $16,000. The revised, so our like in year one, like for this project, this discrete 6 month redesign project, if we did all these add-ons, the cost would be roughly, what's the number here? Let me just make sure I'm not.
Peter's saying around 17, Mark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So. There's a contract that we have is I'm sorry, yeah, it is a 5-year contract. So we're signing, if we just, whatever we decide to do, we have that price in our contract. So our annual maintenance contract for the hosting, because they also host the website. So nothing is, we don't have to have our own server. They provide the server, it's just on theirs. It's about $7,000 a year.
I would mention that the price that we have is about half of what it was estimated in the beginning.
So I guess, I don't know, we can talk about it or we can act, but I guess I'm here to ask the board to make a motion to approve moving forward with redesigning the website. I guess the question is, does that motion want to be just the standard out of the box, or do we want to consider, adding on the additional things here?
Question about that.
Yeah.
If we enter into the contract and suppose we take none of the add-ons day one, does the contract afford us the ability to add them on at that price
Yeah.
throughout the contract?
Throughout the contract, well, you can add it on. I'm not sure that the price would be the same in year 2, year 3, but here, if we do commit to it, the price is quoted in the contract. So we would have basically, there's 3 payments. It's a milestone-based project, so we would initially pay $5,700 on April 24th. We would then, upon completion of phase 2, which is our discovery and design, we pay another $5,700. And then upon completion of the project, we pay the final third, which is another $5,700. And then next January 24th, we would have the annual maintenance fee, which is $7,700 that we pay annually then going forward. Yeah, and that's including everything that you see here.
So in terms of the add-ons, you mentioned the Facebook integration. Is that a separate add-on that's not on there?
No, that's part of the standard.
Oh, that is part of the standard.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I don't know what everyone else feels like. I think the top 2 bullets in terms of add-ons there, for me, they would be great. If we want to expand further into other ones later on, I think we could do that. But for at least to get us started, I would recommend the top 2.
Could I just suggest, I mean, you've mentioned ones that are of interest. Mark has some ideas. If you approve it, maybe you can also authorize Mark or me or whoever to suggest the add-ons and communicate with you what they are. And if you don't like them, you can call, but I think you'll like them. I don't think there's any real differences between what you want and what Mark or what I might want.
Yeah, I think I'll say that if you were talking and you were needing to pick out the ones that are most important right now, I agree with Greg that the top 2 would be the ones I would go with. The others can be added like at the end of the project. Those can be added, or at any point. So, I think it goes to the strategy of whatever we decide, this is expandable, it's, scalable. So, it's not something that we have to commit 100% to right now. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, to Peter's point, I'm certainly open to any kind of suggestions. Mark and Andy are far more knowledgeable on this topic. Probably Tanya is too than I am. So whatever you guys think is best, I guess I'm just looking from a practical fiscal standpoint. The top 2 are kind of must-haves, at least in my opinion. The others maybe are must-haves, and I just don't understand them to be must-haves. But once again, I'll leave that up to the experts, and I'll take the feedback as you guys see fit.
Has Kelsey looked over the contract? Okay, I would want Kelsey to look it over.
Okay.
And I'm in agreement. I want to be smart with our communities, the money. And, but I do think that the top 2 are very important, especially the ADA, that we're compliant with that, and the alert center, pushing that out. I think those are really important, but I do defer to, Peter and the staff and your expertise for any other add-ons, but I would like those top 2.
Okay. Can we have Kelsey, can we have a motion if Kelsey approves?
Yeah, you can have the motion be conditioned upon my review and approval of the contract.
Okay.
Everybody good?
With regard to the add-ons, I'll defer. I'm happy to have you guys decide what makes the most sense. I'll be the contrarian here. The ADA accessibility tools actually are the one that make me squint a little bit because I know what's behind the curtain there, and it kind of smells a little BS-y to me, but
okay.
Not that they don't do something good, it just seems like you're paying to have them do less work or. Yeah, anyway, I digress. This sounds great.
It's a requirement though, right? Like
Well, that's also fuzzy, but I think we should, I'll defer to you guys. Do I hear a motion to?
Well, I did just want to check Peter and Patty. I assume you are comfortable with everything Mark talked about here? Okay, well then, yeah, go ahead, Andy.
All right, and one last thing. There wasn't a motion yet. I want to also quickly echo Peter's comment, commending Mark. For everyone's awareness, Mark was communicating with me before he was a commissioner, offering suggestions, saying, "Hey, Andy, you should check out Civic Plus." I completely candidly did not give you what you were asking for, so I really commend you for taking this on. But that said, do we have a motion to conditionally enter the agreement based on our solicitor's feedback?
I'll make a motion.
Do we need to add the add-ons as part of the motion?
Yeah, I think actually that agreement there I would need to get a revised total from Revise because that one actually has all of the enhancements listed. So I would just ask my account rep to provide a revision to the agreement to include just the ones that we want to do right now.
What you presented includes those, I think. Well, so defer to you guys again, or whatever you guys think.
It's going to drop our price by, just like $5,600 basically.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, it may look like the most eye-bulging one there, but I think certainly I'm biased, but the AI chatbot and search, I think, has the most potential impact for residents of the township, being able to say, what does Cumru Township's ordinance say about stormwater changes in my backyard, to bring up a recently pertinent issue, and actually getting accurate information about Cumru Township's ordinance would be extremely helpful instead of having ChatGPT hallucinate ordinances that don't exist on our books.
Yes, that's what I had asked Mark when we were in all this. The man that came and did the Google search kind of just sticks in my mind. And I asked him, this would be just for our website. So as a person who is learning every day, I really think it will lessen a lot of confusion. So for the costs, and I'm usually a very frugal person, I do see the value in all of this. If we're reaching out to people, and not everybody is that savvy, I think they will be using the search option, and I think it's a good idea for most people. But again, just throwing our 2 cents in there.
I mean, that's a recommendation from Andy and Patty. I don't know, Mark, what do you think about that?
I agree with what they're saying. I think it has a big plus for people coming to the website to find exactly what they're looking for. So I think it's a good expenditure.
All right, I mean, I can get behind it with you guys.
Just to make that super concise, I think the value there is twofold. There's substantial benefit to our residents, and there's, I think, a major reduction in burden to our administrative staff having to look up ordinances, handle complicated questions, look up, does that even exist on our books, that kind of stuff, which I know you guys do a lot of work doing that kind of stuff. So I think there's both direct impact to costs and direct impact to user experience. So that's my 2 cents. So
sold me.
I agree too. Yep. Thank you, Patty, for your input. So
So-
I revise my motion there. That I moved that we proceed with the contract with Kelsey's approval and the enhancements as presented.
Which would be the top three bullets on the slide there.
The contract Kelsey
Oh, it's
has
all of them now.
includes all of those, and that's
Oh, okay. I misunderstood you. I thought we were just adding the chat bot onto it. We're also going to do the generator and the community business director right now.
That's what you're suggesting, Mark, correct?
Those were all options. They, I think, have value. But they don't have to all be added right away if we don't want to. I saw the value in the AI content generator for, again, staff having resources to write content, to create pages. But that, again, that could be done later. That's $800 a year. And the multi-use listing directory, from what I understand, could be used to, for internal department, a directory of employees or a department, but it can also be extended to businesses within the township. So I guess I saw some value there, perhaps to promote community businesses. If people want to look, we talked about that before with the development, is like, do people really know what businesses, restaurants in particular, are in the township? If I want to support a township restaurant, this would be, maybe a directory that I could go to and, support my township.
Okay, it's all me.
I think that might present challenges. We would have to defer to you.
I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
I answer that.
I don't know if that.
We can research that, Glenn. Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't see that there were like advertisement space that, you would be able to sell. It was more just like a white pages directory kind of a thing, but not necessarily more than white pages. Like there were images and contacts and websites and, that kind of stuff, but it wasn't like, anybody getting preferential treatment of, like a special ad. Not advertised, yeah.
All right, so is the recommendation to go with everything now?
That's what my motion was.
Okay,
Do I hear a second?
I'll second Tanya's motion.
All in favor of conditionally authorizing the entering of the contract with Revise, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We're getting a website. Maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna give the announcements quick before we enter into our executive session. Something did just pop into my mind, Kelsey. Should you need to request amendments to that contract, does that need to come back and get revoted?
No.
Okay. Yeah, just a couple of announcements or reminders before we enter into an executive session. There is a zoning hearing board meeting, April 28th at 7:30 p.m. Tentatively. Date is subject to change. Date and time are subject to change. There are Board of Commissioner meetings in April. There is a public hearing for the data center overlay district or district zoning ordinance and zoning map amendments on April 21st at 7, which will be followed by the April regularly scheduled Board of Commissioners meeting. We have a Planning Commission meeting Tuesday, April 7th, as you may have heard earlier, which is a date change. That is at 6 p.m. We have a municipal authority meeting. We do? Oh, at April, sorry, on April 9th at 8:30 a.m. And then we do still have, are we down to one alternate vacancy now with planning? We have one alternate member vacancy for both our Civil Service Commission, which meets as needed, and then the Planning Commission, which usually meets on the first Monday of the month. Finally, the administrative office will be closed this Friday for a Good Friday. Thank you all. For the minutes, we just wrapped up an executive session. No action will be taken. I think that wraps the meeting. Do I have motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.